So this configuration
Schema
allows the layer
flexibility in
3,
the
so
document
from the
model.
packet side, to be
Most
our IP
document
packet to be
databases
logically
and the JSON
grouped
support in
per
relational
VLAN like a
databases
separate
do
subnet.
not enforce
Envelope
any schema
connection.
on
Now
the
your
data in
Ethernet frames
documents.
get a VLAN tag
XML
field,
support in
like a
relational
4 bytes added.
databases
So this is
usually
where you
comes with
have
optional
the
schema validation.
VLAN
No schema means that arbitrary
tag
keys
field.
and
So
values
this
can be added to a
transform
document,
them into
and
envelope
when
frames
reading,
because they're carrying
clients
extra
have
tags
no
like VLAN
guarantees
ID
as
and
to
cost
what
priority
fields the documents
beyond
may
the
contain.
normal Ethernet frame.
Document
So this is
databases
how you
are
send
sometimes called schemaless, but that's
a
misleading,
packet from
as the
one
code that
separate
reads the
separate
data
building
usually
station
assumes some kind of
to
structure,
another
i.e. there is
using
an
a
implicit
VLAN
schema,
ID.
but this
So
is not
band 10 and
enforced by the database.
then
A
that
more
is actually
accurate
how you
term
use
is
banding.
schema on read.
So
The
when you're sending
structure
like
of the data is implicit
a
and
packet,
only
you know, it is
interpreted
separated
when data
kind of
is
like
read.
in layer 3
In contrast with schema on write, the traditional approach
by
of
these
relational
virtual interfaces
databases,
using
where the
band 10 and
schema is
band 20.
explicit
All
and
of
the
the
database ensures
physical
all written
interfaces or
data
port will
converts to it.
receive that, and it will be
Schema on
configured
read
and
is similar
balanced
to
based on the
dynamic
band
runtime,
configuration, or
type,
if
checking,
there's
and
an LCAP
programming language,
configuration.
whereas schema on write is similar to static,
So here, instead of
compile-time
dest
checking.
mock or source mock,
The difference
type
between
payload
the two
CRC.
approaches is
Now you get dest
particularly
mock, SRC mock,
noticeable in situations where application wants to change
802.1q
the
tag
format of
VLAN
its
plus
data.
802.1p
For example, say
priority
you're
type payload
currently
CRC. This is
storing each
what
user's
the
full name in one
802.3
field,
2008
and you
section
instead
meant
want to store
by
the
frames
first name
containing
and last name separately
802.1p/q tags
in a
are
document database.
envelope.
You would just start writing new documents
So
with the new
ifconfig
fields
band
and have
0.10
code
up,
in the
so
application
and then
that
next line
handles the case
ifconfig band
when all
0.20 up.
documents are read. For
This
example,
Linux configuration,
8
meaning it
user
activates the VLAN tag
user.name and
interface so they can send or receive packets. So now that virtual interface will be activated so that they can set packet from an IP or layer 3, and it can be configured using band, and they can be, you know, controlled in layer 3 for reliability and bandwidth. So band, for example, we can create band.10 to 192.168.10.5 IP address, and band.20 to 192.168.20.5. So this is how we include the IP layer 3, because now we can now assign an IP address to that band, so that anything IP packet sending to this IP will go to that band. So each, and then that band will be handled depending on LCAP and band configuration within it. Now, envelope connection. Traffic from TCP or IP layers is encapsulated in Ethernet frames, then tagged with VLAN info, turning them into envelope frames before being transmitted.
This reputation is not entirely deserved. Most relational database systems execute alter table statement
So
in few
that's how it
milliseconds.
is connected in TCP
MySQL is a
IP.
notable
So there's
exception. It copies the entire
connection to
table
IP
and outer
address.
table,
Then on switch,
which can
on the
mean
switch,
minutes
the
or
other
even
end,
hours of downtime
interface
when
range,
altering a large table.
gig 1/0/1 to 2, meaning it selects two switch ports, gig 1/0/1 and gig 1/0/2.
On any database, since every row needs to be
So,
deleted.
for example, you have switch on the other hand to be able to connect that the two switch supported trunking. You need to put this in Linux. So select the two switch ports, gig 1/0/1 and gig 1/0/2. That connects to your two servers, two INCs, ETH0 and ETH1. So those are the line that connect your two server from one switch to another, or from one station to another. Channel group 1 mode on, so it groups these ports into one static ether channel. Manual banding.
Systems over which you have no control and which may change
No
at any
LHCP
time.
negotiation.
In
This matches
situations
your
like this,
Linux
a schema
banding
may hurt more
configuration.
than it helps, and schemaless documents can be much more natural model, but in cases where all records are expected to have the same structure, schemas are useful for a mechanism for documenting and enforcing that structure. We will discuss schemas and schema evolution in more detail in Chapter 4. Data localities for queues. A document is usually
So
stored
when
as
we
a
use
single
mode,
continuous
basically,
string, encoded
since
as
we already
XML
imported
or
it,
binary variant thereof,
this
such as
group or
number
groups,
unit
it will group
If
the
the
ports
application
into
often
one
needs to access
static
the entire
ether channel,
document,
or
for
it's
example,
either use
to
manual
render it on a
banding,
web page,
no
there is
LACP
performance
negotiation. This
advantage
matches
to
your
this
Linux
storage
banding
locality. If
configuration.
data
So
is
after
split
we
across
created that
multiple tables, like in
interface
Figure
range
2.1,
connecting
multiple
different
index
transports, we are now
lookups are required
bonding
to
it.
retrieve it all,
So why
which
both
may
side must
require
match? So
more
if Linux
T6
uses a
and
manual
take more
banding and the
time.
switch expects LACP,
Figure
which is the
2.1
automatic one, the
representing
switch
link
won't
in
treat both
profile
links
using
as
a
one logical
relational
channel.
schema, photo
Packets
of
get
Bill
out of
Gates,
order and will drop. So
courtesy
this line
of
3,
Wikimedia
switch
Commons,
port mode
record the
trunk, so makes
standard
this port trunk ports, meaning they carry
Agents
traffic
Shop
from
Brazil.
multiple VLANs,
The
so each
locality
tagged by
advantage only
802.1q
applies
headers.
if you
So
need
this is
large
how we
parts of
activate the
documents at
trunk
the same
and
time.
how we
The
need
database
to use now
typically
the
needs to load
header
the entire
or tag
document,
header. So
even if
envelope
you
connection, all
access
traffic
only a
across
small
this
portion of it,
trunk line is
which can
carried
be
as
wasteful
VLAN
on
tag
large
envelope
documents.
frames,
On updates
each
to a
containing
document,
VLAN
the
ID.
entire document usually needs to be rewritten. Only modifications
So
to
any
change the
all
encoded
traffic
size
across
of a
this trunk
document
line now
can
will
easily
now have the
perform in
envelope
place.
or VLAN ID
For
and
these
possibly
reasons,
cause
It is
priority
generally
bits.
recommended that you keep
This line 4 switch
documents
port
fairly
trunk
small
allowed
and
VLAN
avoid
10,
writes that
20,
increase the
meaning
size of a document.
it specifies
This
which VLAN
performance limitation
this
significantly
trunk will
reduces the
carry.
set of
In
situations
the
in which
case
document
VLAN 10
databases
and
are
VLAN
useful.
20.
It's worth pointing out that the idea of grouping related data together for locality is not limited to the document model. For example, Google Spanner's database offers the same locality properties in a relational data model by allowing the schema to
So
declare that a
basically,
table's row
we're
should
gonna
be
define what
interleaved
VLAN
nested
will
within a
be
parent
included
table.
in this trunk. In
Oracle
this case,
allows
we
the
have VLAN
same
10 and VLAN 20.
using a
So
feature
this
called
VLAN 10 and VLAN
multi-table
20 could
index
have,
slash third
again,
table.
multiple
The
NICs
column
or
family
hosts.
concept
The
in
switch
the
only
big
forward
table
sprints with these
data
VLAN
model
tags
used in
on
Cassandra
this
and
trunk.
HBase has similar purpose
Envelope
of
connection,
managing
this VLAN
locality.
ID corresponds to the tags